Welcome, everyone. We are thrilled to be here. It's interesting to be both virtual and live, a so-called hybrid event. Before we begin, a couple housekeeping rules. Please remember that while your comments and opinions and responses are very welcome, that they should also be courteous. And
there you are.
Okay, Kate.
And we're going to, hi, everybody. We're going to find our virtual participants. Please keep your microphones off for now. You'll have an opportunity to speak later. But background noise sometimes echoes when we're doing this kind of meet, okay? So please keep your microphones off until you speak, and we'll speak one at a time. So I want to give us all an opportunity just to say our names before we introduce our guest speaker, Damaris Mercado. Sure, yeah, and you just push that button, and there you go. So I am Asha Golliher, and this is...
Hi, I am Mr. Espinosa. I am one of your Spanish teachers here, and I am also the district diversity trainer for the school. And I'm just really happy to see all you guys here today, and happy to get back to some sense of normalcy, even if it is a hybrid construction. It's good to see.
Yeah, and I am Mr. Barton. I teach music here, and I'm just going to go around and put the microphone in all of your faces and just say your name for everybody, okay?
My name's Wyatt.
I'm Colin.
I'm Gio.
Jose.
Meadow.
Tiara.
I'm Steele.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Coda.
I'm Eva.
I'm Annette, 101 Special Ed.
I'm Abby. I'm Nicole.
I'm Desiree.
This is Alex.
I'm Caleb. Frank Mulhern, my brother's keeper.
Thank you so much. So now there are some names with our faces, and perhaps we could just invite our virtual guests to also just unmute and say your names to our group.
Hello, my name is Elise.
Hi, Elise. Welcome back. I think you were at our last discussion.
Yes, I was. I enjoyed it very much.
And hello, I'm Louis Leon, here with Liz Leon.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us. So, shall we begin by
Let's get it. Let's go.
introducing?
Let's
So,
do it.
wonderful. We are thrilled to have Damaris Mercado here. She is the daughter of one of the United States' greatest music producers, and especially with regard to Latino and Hispanic music. So I'm going to read a bit of a bio off of Damaris's. May I call you Damaris for the sake of this, or would you prefer Miss Mercado? How shall I refer to you?
Well, if you're going to use my first name, you have to say it properly. And it's,
yes, ma'am.
It's Damaris, like glamorous, darling.
Glamorous Damaris.
Like glamorous.
I want to do that with
Thank
mine.
you. Perfect. That's got it now. That's wonderful. So Damaris Mercado started her career in events and projects while in her teens, performing and working in musical theater through an after-school program. So she began a long time ago at your age, right? Then, as a club MTV dancer, she became more intrigued with what was happening behind the scenes. Encouraged by her mother to explore all things of interest and by her father to, quote, know how to make your own productions happen and not wait for someone else to cast you, end quote. She was thrust into the family business, traveling and working on recording projects, music videos, and concerts at world-renowned venues. Many moons later, and based in New York City, she has produced various projects, including a few highlights that I'll list now. Creating, producing, and directing an award-winning TV show, establishing an acting school, and directing a live televised fundraising concert in Panama. Teaching a bilingual screening class at Rikers Island Academy for incarcerated youth in New York City. Co-facilitating a dance and writing retreat at Cupralo Yoga Center in the Berkshires. Developing an annual leadership summit for college access and success. curating an exhibit on her father, Ralph Mercado, at Syracuse University, producing and hosting a mini salsa festival tribute at Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts Midsummer's Night's Swing Concert Series. It's a mouthful. With more than 3 decades of experience wearing her creator, producer, educator, writer, host hats, I think that word hat needs an S after it. Damaris loves coaching, consulting, and teaching people how to bring their visions to fruition and making it happen. Damaris spends her spare time on passion projects such as a Wellness Wednesday Weekly and a Mercado Project. So both of these are websites, wellnesswednesdayweekly.com and the mercadoproject.org. So both of these websites will be shared out in the recording. We're going to edit the end and make sure that these links are available to the public in our recording. And she currently serves on an advisory board as an advisory board member for the budding International Salsa Museum, which is based in New York City. She's also an award winner, the most recent of which I think you're a Luminary. That's a Luminary Award that you won recently. So welcome. We're so happy to have this conversation with you. And did you want to say anything else?
Of course. Yeah, it's not often that we get to have someone in our presence who has had such a meaningful impact on Latino culture with a specific emphasis on music, more specifically the genre of salsa. Now, one of the best things I like about this district is that the ethnic construction of our district represents my own, represents Damaris's, and several others. So there is that definite association when we start talking about music. More importantly, the type of message that gets conveyed through the music, and that's one of the topics that we want to discuss today. We want to talk about how the music oftentimes serves as a vehicle by which we could transmit a message or by which we can even receive a message. Raise your hand if you guys have ever been in a situation where you're feeling some type of way and you put on your favorite song and that feeling changes completely. Yeah. Right, exactly. All of us have, right? So we all have experienced how the music almost becomes a vehicle that allows us to either receive a message. How many of you guys are actual artists, music writers, musicians? Anybody here? Painters in some capacity, right? So you use that art to go ahead and establish a voice that may or may not necessarily be audible, but it's still a voice nonetheless. And Ms. Mercado has definitely done that for us. And we're very grateful that she's here. So let's go ahead and get to the meat and potatoes of this, right? I'm excited.
Well, I'm a vegetarian, so I don't eat meat.
Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and get to the tofu then.
To the peas and the tofu, yeah, right?
We're going to get to the soy and tofu of the matter. Now, Ms. Mercado, we have a video that we want to share. And if memory serves me correct, it's a video that you produced on the man that we know as Ralphie Mercado.
The man behind the music.
The man behind the music. Yeah. Do you want to give a little intro about that before we show the video?
Okay.
What was it like producing it?
So that video came about when I was producing and hosting the show at Lincoln Center. That was a tribute to RMM, a tribute to my father and his record company that he established, which launched the careers of, some of you might know, Mark Anthony, affiliated with J-Lo, right? And had artists such as Celia Cruz, Tito Puente, Oscar de Leon, Johnny Ventura, La India, Tito Nieves, Eddie Palmieri, and a number of artists on that label. And so after my father passed in 2009, it was March 10, 2009, I was approached by Lincoln Center to produce a show as part of their Midsummer Night Swing concert series, which is held outdoors. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Lincoln Center, how many of you have been to New York City, but it is a huge performing arts space. It's a world-renowned performing arts space in the heart of New York City. And this area also houses what's known as the Met, the Metropolitan Opera House. I don't know if any of you have heard of that, as well as the New York City Ballet. Are housed at Lincoln Center. So every year, every summertime, they do this festival called the Midsummer Night Swing Concert Series, of which this tribute was a part of. And it was like a mini salsa festival in fashion of the way my father used to produce at Madison Square Garden and other places around the world. And so part of that tribute was also putting this video together, and which I put together with my brother-in-law, who is an editor and a videographer as well, and decided to title it "The Man Behind the Music," based upon a piece that I had written a number of years prior. I think it was 2003 that I had written this piece that I was able to review with my father before he passed. As part of a biography series that I was working on at the time. So that's a little bit about the video and how it came to be.
All right, John, we're ready to show it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I just want to tell everyone here that if you look up Ralph Mercado, you will see a list of over 100 musicians that he helped to produce and make a name for themselves.
Yeah, so when we talk about culture, and even to the students who are sitting here, one of the fundamental pieces of culture is music. All right, music is the type of thing that identifies a culture by its sound, that identifies a culture by its movement, and the Latin American culture. And we want to kind of tie this in a little bit with our Hispanic heritage, which just recently ended. But nevertheless, talking about culture and talking about legacy and talking about the continuity of such, Damaris, can you speak a little bit as to how your current work is helping to kind of continue to develop the legacy that your father kind of started through yourself and through whatever it is that you're doing with the Mercado Project and other things that you're working on?
I feel like that's a lot in a question.
Sure.
So maybe we can chunk it down.
Of course.
But I do want to point out something, because we're talking about history, right? And we're talking about culture, and there's just a beautiful mix of people in the room where you are. And are you in Ulster or Sullivan County?
Ulster.
Okay, so your neighboring county is Sullivan County, right?
Correct.
So, are you aware of the movement of Latin music in the Catskills back
Yes.
in the mid 1900s, right? And the mambo nicks, right? So it was the Jews who loved mambo and Latin music, and there was a whole movement that took place up in the Catskills in your neighboring counties. So I don't know how you might be aware, right, as the educators in the room, but I don't know if the students are aware of that's the history of where you live, right? And so that's important, and do more research about that. I would encourage you to do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, just some cool little tidbits of information. And I feel like there's other people in attendance on this call who also have some history that they could share too.
Excellent.
Going back to your question, I don't know, can we just break it down, like, you know?
Sure thing. You're involved in quite a bit of amazing projects, right? All of which were designed from what I know to be your love of the culture, right? It's the love of retaining a legacy, not just necessarily one started by your father, but a legacy of our people in general.
And that still is living.
And that still is living. So one of the projects that you're working on, the Mercado Project, for example, can you just speak a little bit as to how you see that project perpetuating the legacy of what your father started, that you're kind of taking the torch over?
Well, I don't really want to say that I'm taking the torch because that's like a big, heavy torch. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, it's like, you know, the Statue of Liberty, and the size of that torch is how I feel. You know what I'm saying when you say that? Because the work that he did, and the impact that work had around the world, and at the time that it was done, before there was social media, is huge. And he, along with other people who were on the scene and other promoters, but that was his passion.
Right.
He recognized that from early on, and had said several times, like, if he had to rely on, you know, his talent for playing an instrument, he would have wound up homeless. But he recognized the talent in others, and that was his talent. And, you know, his journey started with my mom when they met when they were teenagers, and were together for, you know, that period of time, and starting parties in a basement in a nearby building on their block, and building that out of home and a home-based business, right? So I'm just sharing these little tidbits because these are things that more and more people have come to know during this past year and a half, of just all different ways that people can generate income and building a business out of home. And this was something being done in the late 50s, 1950s. And just that love for music and promoting parties and building it from then in downtown Brooklyn, in this area, or just the outskirts of downtown Brooklyn, in this area called Cobble Hill, Borum Hill, this area. And you know, so if you think back, and the history that you've studied of the 50s, right, and all of the social movements of that time, and civil rights, and all of this taking place, my father was someone, a man of who would be considered a man of color, right, dark skin, darker than me. And my mom was not that. She was very light and would lean more towards the white side, although she loved to tan. So, you know, if you were to look at them, it could have been considered like an interracial marriage. And during that time, there was a lot around civil rights, social movements, and music was what brought a lot of people together, right? Crossing the barriers. And then there's all sorts of stuff that took place during those years, 50s and 60s, around music and, you know, different environments, right? And the North and the South and so on and so forth. So when we go back to that time to come forward, it's important to understand or be put into the mindset and this place and space of putting on dances, putting on shows, working with artists, being in certain environments, how you had to negotiate with some people to be able to get into certain environments and partner with certain people to get into certain environments in order for artists to perform and people to attend dances. So, going from the basements in Brooklyn to venues above ground, and then into hotel ballrooms, and then bigger venues and main stages, and then eventually around the world was definitely a journey, and one that was not taken for granted, especially for all of the people involved, right? And so being able to recognize the talents of people and getting heavy into promotions, and being able to carry the music around the world was very significant, and I think valued more than it is now, just because things are so accessible now, right? With social media, and everything is just, you grab me in the first 5 seconds. If you don't, I'm gone. And live music was definitely revered more than now, although there's tons of concerts and tons of events happening. So it was a different time, so I just really want to emphasize that. And my mom was the one who was working for a record company at the time when they were first starting out, and my father was working in the garment industry.
Interesting.
And and eventually that kind of flip-flop. So he always made sure she had beautiful dresses and all of this, and then she got into more into fashion and becoming a seamstress, and then he carried off on the music and created Ralph Mercado Presents, Ralph Mercado Management, RMM Records and Video, and so on and so forth. So carrying the music to, I like to say, all corners of the globe, establishing about 31 or 33 offices internationally.
Wow.
Taking the music to Japan, to Germany, Africa, and all these places, right? So
Damaris, do you think that music is still a vehicle for us to cross barriers at this time of a lot of cultural transformation and conflict?
Absolutely. I think music will always serve as a tool to communicate and to cross barriers, right? It's what brings us together. All kinds of music.
Yeah.
All kinds of music.
Absolutely. So talking a little bit about how music generally is an identifier of culture. Is there anybody here who wants to kind of speak up a little bit about what the music represents to their respective culture? Because we want you guys to definitely have an opportunity to speak off. So how many of you guys are down with that reggaeton? Oh, come on. You guys been listening to that in my classroom. I know you. I see you.
Oh, I see a hand. I saw a hand go up. I saw a hand go up.
So we can appreciate that these musical genres are inherently identifying characteristics of who we are as people, right? So how would you feel about someone that asks you, for example, what does music, in particular salsa, what does that mean? How does that become an identifying characteristic of the Hispanic people in general?
Is that open for everyone in the room?
Oh yeah, for everybody.
Okay.
Oh yeah, no, it is.
Sure.
It was an open question. So
It is an open question.
you hear these beats, right? And automatically you're like, okay, yep, that's it. That's the one, right?
And wasn't it a bit of a, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, a bit of an amalgam of different cultures coming together?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, just about all music nowadays is a fusion.
Yeah.
Of just different rhythms, different genres coming together. So I know all of you, I'd like to hear some of your favorite artists or people you like to listen to? And I'm just kind of curious. What, whatever kind of music, whatever genre it is. So if anybody would like to share.
I listen to Queen and David Bowie a lot.
Really?
Okay.
Nice.
Nice. And wait, give her the mic back. So how did you get into Queen and David Bowie? Because that takes me back to what, like the 80s?
Yeah, pretty much.
So how did they come about for you as something you listen to a lot? Because you said a lot.
Yeah, my dad and my mother grew up listening to it, and I guess I really just enjoyed the beat, and their vocals are really, I guess inspiring. So that's what really got me into trying to sing and to be in chorus. So it was really Freddie Mercury who's like inspiring me to do what I'm doing, kind of.
Okay, and what is it that you're doing, kind of?
Well, I started chorus really because it inspired me to start trying to sing at least.
Nice. Okay, so if you don't mind me asking, like, what is your background?
Like ethnicity?
Yeah.
I'm Greek.
Okay. Do you know that my name in Greek means gentle girl? I don't know. I found that out.
Nice. I like it.
In Latin means lady of the sea. What's your name again?
Eva, but that's not my Greek name. My full name is Evanthea.
Nice. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, I wish you tremendous success with your singing career.
Thank you.
And keep studying and keep exposing yourself to all kinds of music.
Yeah, and that's an example of how music transcends generations, right? We have someone who is of that particular generation of Queen, David Bowie, transferring the love of music to someone who is more of a current generation. So that was Eva. Thank you for sharing that, because that's definitely what we want to highlight during this particular time that we're together. And it's during this particular time where there's so many uncertainties and where there's so many clashes. Music is the one thing that kind of brings us together, and it bridges generational gaps.
Yes.
Right. And I want to add to that, but just also ethnicity, right? Like she mentioned, what do you mean my ethnicity, right? Because because I left it open. Like, what is your background? Eva could have also said, well, my background in music and my training and study. And so I like people to interpret how they want to and how it reflects to them and what comes up. And it's so important to recognize that. I mean, if you just look around the room, right, this is beautiful. Like everybody being together, and music, how it brings us, together in these spaces and crosses, fronteras, we say, boundaries. What is another word for this? Country lines, right?
Borders. Yeah.
Borders. Yes, borders. And I want to hear a couple others in the room. What do you listen to?
Geo.
I listen to Lil Durk and Drake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you get into them?
Well, when I was young, I just started listening to Drake because he was like popular, and then ever since I just been listening to him.
Okay. And what is your background?
Puerto Rican.
Okay. And I want to know, all of you in the room, have you grown up in this area where you're going to school now?
Now, we have some of you guys have grown up in other countries, right? Some of you have grown up in other states as well. Yeah. Athena, where did you grow up?
She's waiting for the microphone. She's like, I'm not going to speak until I have the microphone.
You got a job, man.
I grew up in like Puerto Rico and stuff.
Okay. And what does the music sound like in your house on a Saturday morning?
Loud and stuff.
What is the stuff part? Tell me.
I mean, we listen to a lot of like Spanish music. I don't know like all of it, but it's just we dance a lot all the time.
Okay, so do you know like what kind of music that you're listening to on a Saturday morning that's loud?
No, I don't like know the names or anything.
Does it fall like into the genre of like, is it a merengue? Is it a salsa? Is it a bachata? Is it a reggaeton? Do you know the differences there? Latin jazz? No?
No.
Okay, so I'm gonna put you to the task and start to ask, what the songs are, what the music is you're listening to, and just become familiar for yourself.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah, 'cause you know that that Saturday morning song routine hits different, especially when you're trying to sleep and your parents are trying to clean. He knows what I'm saying. He's like, you just read my mind, bro.
That is so funny. So, all right, well, I want to hear some more. All right, anybody else? One more person, let's say.
Be brave.
Dale, Jose.
Be brave. You gonna be brave?
Yeah. Jose's on here.
All right.
Right now.
I like to listen to a lot of Spanish stuff, like back stuff, like Teo Calderon.
Oh, he was in the video. I don't know if you saw him on the I worked with him before. He's great, people. He is a beautiful soul, beautiful person. Yeah.
And I like Lil Durk too. I just like old stuff.
Okay. And how did you get into that music?
I don't know. It just like really like music just makes me like it's just like I don't know, I just like all types of music. So like
Are there certain moods that you guys have to be in to listen to certain types of music? Yeah. I think as so Jose, tell us a little bit about that. What are some of the moods you're in and some of the music you listen to?
Sometimes it's like dancing, like bachata and stuff. And reggaeton. We also like dance that. So yeah. We jiggy with it.
Yeah, you get jiggy with it. That's great. What's your background?
Puerto Rican.
All right. Yeah. I'm Puerto Rican and Dominican. That's my more immediate, but then we go back on my mom's side. We got the Spanish, we got the Italian.
Yeah.
It's a hodgepodge. Our Latin American culture is a hodgepodge of many different things.
Yes, but
let's talk briefly about that in a little bit of time that we have. So talk a little bit about the relationship that exists between our emotions and the music that we listen to. So I, for example, can tell you today while I was teaching and my students were listening to their music in spite of my constant demands to ask them to put them away, I decided that I wanted to update my gym playlist, right? So what are some of the music that you listen to depending on how you feel? First of all, I don't want to go to the gym today because I'm tired, but I figure if there was a song that kind of I could just put in my ear that could boost my energy, it'll be it, right? So what are some of the songs that you guys kind of listen to depending on the moods that you're in? Go ahead, Milo.
I know, like, if I'm in like an angry, angsty, I'm mad at my mom mood, I'll listen to like angry, angsty music, like Slipknot or like ICP and stuff like that. But recently there's one song that I found, I forgot the name of it, but it's in Spanish. And I'm Salvadorian, but I can't speak Spanish, so like I can't remember the name of it, but it blew up on TikTok and it's so much serotonin in my brain. I can't pronounce who it's by either because Spanish, and sadly I've been very whitewashed. But like that song, if I'm happy and I listen to that song, it amplifies it by so much. And like,
do you know how it goes? Can you like sing a little bit? Give us a little sample.
Do it, Milo. Do it, Milo. Do it, Milo.
Can I speak the lyrics?
Sure.
I know like some of the lyrics, and then the rest of it is just jibber jabber to me. It's like Con Flores.
Yes, I know that song.
It's a very good song. It makes me very happy.
Okay.
But like if
I know that song.
Like there's this one song I like called Another Life by Motionless in White, and I was listening to it while I was walking to class, and I had it like blasting, and it made me so happy that I like couldn't breathe. Does that make sense? Like there was so much serotonin that I just breathed none.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think of lyrics, I think of melodies. It just really depends. If I can contribute, I think for me, when certain moods that I'm in, like if I want to put on, like shift the energy and be in an up mood, I definitely put on some merengue. Yeah. And or if I'm like more, I'm kind of like a mellow, but yet, just feeling good mood. I love Latin jazz. That's one of my favorite genres, just Latin jazz. If I'm into a workout and I got to go exercise, I'm throwing on some house music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I need to feel like I'm in the club. And I'm doing it to the beat. So there's all kinds of stuff. Yeah, so I don't know if anybody else wants to share around that.
Well,
What else do you listen to?
I'm also a little curious about our virtual guest and coming back to your point about a little history that might be there. So after, maybe we can touch base with him.
It's the same for me. Like when I have a workout playlist, I like to listen to like a lot of upbeat music or music that will really get me like going, and even some like old songs from like 2010s is really good, like energetic. And sometimes when I don't even know what I'm feeling or really any other mood, I'll just like I said, listen to Queen because they have so many genres in any of their albums. It's like every single like feeling or emotion. But I like to listen to like Mother the band or just some rock out. And then, some days I just want to like play calm indie music. Really depends.
Nice.
Well said.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of the reasons that I am a big believer. And I'm not just saying this because you guys are here, but I'm a big believer in music being one of the most important classes to take in high school because music is a universal language. And music appeals to all your senses, right? Music is something that could transport you from one mindset to another, and you don't even realize it, right? Music is a universal upper. It's something that gets you pumped up. It's something that helps you get in touch with emotions that you probably didn't even know you had, right? You want to cry a little bit, put some bachata on, You're done. That's it. You're done for the day.
You're so funny.
Call it a night. You want to come back to life? Put on some Tego Calderon, like he said, right? So it's you want to study? Put on a little bit of classical music. So I love having this conversation and talking about the meaning of music and how music can act as a voice, even when nothing is said, right? You listen to something that just has an instrumental, and right away you hear a flat note, and you're in it, bro.
Yeah.
Right? You hit that first chord, and it's a flat, and that's it. You're gonna cry. You just know you're gonna ugly cry too. Maybe, I don't know, depending on whether you have a test tomorrow or not. But in the few minutes that we have left, Asha.
I want to invite Mr. Barton. You've been a
Yes.
great,
Well-
MC here. So would you
Yeah,
like to-
well, man, music keeps us all connected all the time, right? It's like a window into so many other aspects of life, into other cultures, into other people too. If you listen to their lyrics, if you read their lyrics, if you listen to the instruments, we were talking about how you can identify certain cultures, right, with the instruments that you're hearing, the instruments that are from that place, that are made from that gourd, that come from that country, right, or the wood from that tree that's made for that, right? It sounds like it identifies, right, and that brings people home in a lot of ways when they hear that music, but it brings us to their home at the same time, right? Music's just a great, I totally agree with it.
Yeah.
If you could leave these kids with one thought from this, I know if you had to sum it up in a nutshell, what would you say to these
Wait,
kids?
guys, wait, just 1 second, please. Thank you.
What would you want them to take from this?
Oh man. From this, study, learn, become a lifelong learner, be curious, ask questions, challenge, educate yourself outside of high school, follow your passion, figure out what that is, explore all things. And I say that because that's what my parents told me, and that's what they instilled in me. I'd love to meet all of you in the future at some point.
And maybe
That would be
you'll
great.
come back and be with
That
us
would
in
be great.
person.
Yeah, I would
Thank
love.
you so
Do
much.
we have a minute before everybody runs out? Or
Some of them have to take the
Oh.
bus, so
Oh, okay,
We're
got it.
sports, and
Yeah.
so thank you so
All right, no
much. You
worries.
guys were
Thank
great.
you all, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
all right, we're still on, so
Bye.
we'll
Yeah,
hang
we're
out for
still
a little
here.
bit here.
Bye. All right.
Thank
All
you.
right.
You guys were great.
I
Well,
wanna-
I was able to get a
Yeah,
screenshot.
no
I was
problem.
able to get a screenshot, so that
Nice.
was
You
it.
guys mind if I
Good.
take this off?
No,
I
go
don't
ahead.
I don't
Never
mind. I don't mind.
And also, yeah, okay. One of our guests knows some history.
Yeah, yeah.
So I wanted to.
Well, let's,
yeah.
Mr.
Burton. Yeah.
Well, I just want to ask you. You've traveled the world, and you've been with like some of the greats of the greats. Like, what are the highlights for you as far as like what that's given you as a sense, as a sense of self, being a part of all that, leading all that?
Yeah. Great question.
That's kind of a loaded question, I know.
It is.
No, I mean it's just gosh, an appreciation for life, an appreciation for travel, an appreciation for discovery, right? And following dreams and thoughts of ideas and exploring possibilities. Even if it doesn't work out, but just giving it a shot, right? So that for me, just being able to travel and live in different places and work on all kinds of projects. I mean, I've had great fortune to be able to do that. I want to travel more. There are many more places I want to go to and see, and trips I want to take, and projects I want to work on in different parts of the world. So I hope to be able to do that. But it's been great. Yeah, I think it's very important to travel and to explore and to meet people and different cultures and environments and eat authentic foods in the lands that they are from and hear the music in the lands they are from and dance the dances in the lands they are from. So for me, that's what it's all about, and being able to have those experiences. Yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Damaris, this was wonderful. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your time.
I mean, do we have a minute to take any do we still have any audience people left, if there are any in the audience?
So it's the
Just
three of
us.
us. We have two virtual guests.
If the
so maybe
virtual
we could
guests
reach
would
out
like to share any of their cultural experiences
Thank you,
around
yes.
Latin music or anything like that, I would love to hear from these virtual guests.
Hi, Damaris.
Hi,
Hi.
Elise. How are you doing?
It was a wonderful conversation, and I'm really grateful to watch all of these young kids get to hear your experience and your father's experience of his life and his legacy, and also creating all of these amazing artists. Like, I'm a huge Mark Anthony fan and a Tito Puente fan and a La India fan. I grew up with that music. I grew up watching your father. I'm actually Damaris's cousin. So I got to see, kind of firsthand when I was 9 years old, her sister got married and I was a flower girl, and Mark Anthony sang at the wedding, and I had no idea who he was. But as his career flourished, I really got to understand his music and also my culture even more. I'm Puerto Rican as well. And music is life. Music is the soul that pushes all of us, especially in any Spanish culture. I mean, we have family get-togethers, there's music. Holidays, there's music. And it's built into us. It's built into the DNA.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that was great. That's a nice little piece for this video here.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here today. Great hearing your voice. Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. That's a fabulous voice there. Sounds familiar.
Well, I just have a brief input, and through my experience, I'm an older generation, and I love sharing all of my musical backgrounds with my grandchildren, especially. So I try to share that. But the quick thing that I like to say is, if we could introduce children or kids to just pick up an instrument as well. and get in tune with the music that you can make with an instrument, as well as listening to other people playing the instruments. I've been practicing the piano for like 20 years, and I'm still a novice. I consider myself a novice, but I listen to salsa. I grew up with R&B, but when I'm behind the piano, I love playing classical music, which is totally different, but it does a lot for me. Sometimes when I want to escape and get into a different zone, that does it for me. And I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. And you mentioned the piano, you mentioned the classical music, and I remember playing piano growing up, and I have my piano to this day that my father got me when I was 8 years old. And it's more like a piece of furniture now, and I'm wanting to, get back into it. It needs to be tuned a couple times over because it has moved about a bit. And I learned to play the glockenspiel, and I was in the marching band, and I took up the flute for a little bit, but couldn't get my wind together and got dizzy. So that didn't work out too well. Didn't work out too well. I'm definitely more of a dancer in the sense of a performer. But I remember my mom putting me to the task of learning a Beethoven classic because of one of the attendees on this line that was called Für Elise.
But yes.
And she had me learn this and play it for Elise.
Yes. Yeah, that's the first classical music that I played.
That would be me.
Yes, that is you.
I'm Elise.
That is you.
Beethoven was classic. Well, listen, folks, this was amazing.
Yes.
I really, before we conclude, I want to give a huge shout out to the tech department.
Yes, thank you so
you guys
much,
don't
John.
understand this gentleman, John. He is like the best technology dude on the planet.
Yes,
so
and he's
thank you
very
so much,
nice about
John.
it as well. Thank you.
Bravo, John. Bravo.
We can definitely, this. I mean, he's just an amazing. Yeah, that department is great. I'm sure the whole department is great, but I worked with John a lot more than others. But John, thank you so much, man.
you.
This was great. Thank you, Mr. B, for
My pleasure.
bringing in your students
Absolutely.
and sharing your expertise.
It's a
Thank
treat.
you, Damaris. Thank you, Ms. King, Mr. and Mrs. Leon, and
Thank you.
Asha. Anything to close up?
Thank you, Ellie.
All right.
All right. Thank you all. This was a wonderful conversation, and be well and keep dancing.
Until the next one.
I welcome everyone to check out mercadoproject.org, damarismercado.com. I got a bunch of great videos on there to give more background that we weren't able to talk about today. So definitely share that with your students and community around the topics. And thank you so much for inviting me here to be with everyone today.
Thank you.
All
And
right.
the last
Take care,
thing-
folks.
The last thing I want to say is thank you to the American Library Association for the
Yes.
grant that made this
That
possible.
grant is phenomenal,
Thank
and it
you.
has allowed us to have conversations that we otherwise wouldn't have had. So
So
Yes.
have a great day,
Okay.
everybody.
Thank you.
Ciao for
Bye.
now.
Bye.
Ciao for
Bye.
now.